welcome back to our weekly Cardinal Financial webinar. Myself and Frank Capobianco have one of our young guns here today. I feel like he's not so young anymore, even he still is really young. We have Greg Costa with us, I've known him for a few years, but I know he's been with Frank a little bit longer, and he's one of our rising stars as loan officers, and has had an amazing year last year. So welcome, Greg.
Greg, what's up, man?
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
He's wise beyond his years. That's why he seems older than he is.
Right. Judging by my my little collar shirt and a sweater.
25 yet?
No, 24.
There you go. God, how's that make you feel, Rob?
Yes, disgusting. Greg, you're in the business what, 4 years now?
Well, I started in August 2017 for Frank. At United Mortgage, so back in the day. But yeah, I mean, coming up on, I guess this August would be my 5th year.
And you did north of 30 million last year in production, correct?
Yes.
So now we expect more this year, but that's a quick jump, right? And saying that to people, I know people think the mortgage business was very, very busy last year, and the numbers are a little bit inflated, but the majority of your business was purchase business, and you've done even more this year so far. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Like, what your year looks like, what do you think projecting, how your next couple of years looks like?
Yeah. So, I mean, the model that I started out on was as well consumer direct, right? So when I got started out, we're working with refinance leads, taking these calls, taking the app, selling them over the phone, nothing too personal relationship based. When the first full year that I was in the mortgage business was disconcerting to me because the rates were, I remember my first purchase loan that I did, the rate was like 5.625. And we weren't even a purchase team. So It was like, well, there's not a lot of loans out there for us to grab on the refi spectrum. And then trying to start in a purchase market when the rates are egregiously high, it's like, I'm not sure if I love doing this. But I think for me, this industry in particular, and I think sales in general, there's a big barrier of entry because a lot of people want the instant gratification. Like, I'm in sales now, I want to make money. I really didn't make money for a bunch of years because I was okay with just being in college and then just kind of following in the footsteps of some guys.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that we missed out in the beginning, right? So when Greg says he started in August, he was looking for credits, literally. Like, he came to me, a friend of my brother-in-law's, they went to high school together. It's like, hey, dude, I need an internship course for college credits. I don't care if you pay me or pay me, like, whatever. So his first year and a half or so, or maybe even 2 years, was completely part-time working through college and everything. It wasn't until probably we got to Cardinal that he was a full-time employee.
So that would probably be better to speak about. So like,
it's crazy.
All of 17, all of 18, and half of 19, I was still in college. So I was doing Tuesdays and Thursdays, I was doing 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. college class, commuting to Stony Brook. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was working at the bank for Frank. And then Saturday, Sunday, I was selling real estate just to kind of try things. But I didn't really graduate college until May 2019, which is what my original projection was to do anyway, judging when I graduated high school and all that good stuff. But really, I got my first license. My license in New York hit on June 1st, 2019. So that really, my first full year in the mortgage business was the year of 2020. And last year was just my second year. Really, this is my career full time.
That's a huge difference too, that you did that much business last year and your second year, really, because I only know you here. And you're right, because I think you got your license like 3 months after we started here. February
19 we started. So that's when I met you. And then I still wasn't even out of college. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, listen, it's a great accomplishment that you're doing so much, so fast,
Oh, I mean,
well, and look,
crazy.
Greg did mention it, and he is right when he says he put in the work, because, one thing I could say is everything that I've ever guided him, which is mostly based on my own mistakes, what not to do. He's listened and he's built it the right way. So now there's a foundation to launch from. This is a guy that studied guidelines. When everybody else was selling streamlines, Greg was studying guidelines. He wanted to learn the purchase business when everyone was doing refis, so on and so forth. So I think that knowledge gave you the confidence to get out there and network. And now 100% of your business comes from networking, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is, I've always focused on the knowledge portion of things and seeing like where everything is going. Like, I was just talking to, and Frank and I were mentioning this before, I now have someone working for me, which is amazing. But with that being said, I think people that start now in the mortgage business, specifically on Octane, which I'm sure we'll get into, but all of them are very spoiled because I was learning on an archaic LOS where you basically, if you're on Octane now, it's literally telling you like, you're not going to get to this step unless you do that. And here's why. And that is like a huge benefit because if I learned on Octane, I would have probably been even quicker to the front, you know,
Definitely,
and that's big.
So let's talk to that a little bit. So with Octane and with the fact that you're not chained to your desk on leads, right? Because a lot of people still think, you know, they see me and I'm the lead guy, right? So you work for me, you're the lead guy. Wrong.
Right.
How has your life changed? Work-life balance, the networking accounts that you have. I mean, how has it changed to be able to free yourself up to be more like Ralph and less like me in the eyes of I mean, that's what
yeah, and I think like I have friends in the business and I hear what they do. And obviously a lot of people think that our team kind of has that connotation that like we are the guys that sit behind the desk. And even if not, we're still running purchase leads. Like, sure, those are out there, but we're not doing that. Some guys are, and that's great. But I, you know, recognize that when making the transition, I was smart enough to know that it's all in allocation. So like you were spending money driving these refi leads, and because you're a good person to work for, it's like, how can we take that money and make it work in another direction? And that's what we were able to do that allowed me to get out and allowed me to kind of naturally network with people with support. You know, because a lot of people, if you just go out there on your own, I was having still the leads as a supplement to make sure I was getting paid. So it's like a lot of guys will try to take this leap of faith. They'll give it 3, 4, 5, even 6 months. They make no money. Then they hit the eject button. Now they're not in the business anymore. So I was surrounded with the people that were at least keeping me afloat with the supplemental income and leads and stuff like that, which allowed me to go out there and land some pretty big accounts to where now I think what I've transitioned into is to where when I'm at my desk, it's for a purpose. I prefer to be outside of the office and servicing these accounts. Because we shouldn't be here kind of stalking files. We should be here getting the files to then hopefully someone else stalks, you know, and that's kind of how I think Octane works for me, you know?
Yeah. You know, and I think that you're doing all the little things that you have to do to be successful. And I think that's the most important thing, right? Like, I think you know the technology really well. You're really, really knowledgeable on your subject matter. You know product really well. And you're getting out there and doing the little things by networking. We try to have support systems here, and I think you buy into all that stuff as far as all the education, but you know, how did you learn so much so fast? Like, how do you have so much knowledge on product? Because you're very, very good at structuring deals. So how do you think you got to this point?
For me, when I was getting started, and once again, we started in a peculiar time in the business because I had just missed like the streamline push when these guys were very busy and the phones are ringing off the hook. But there was a lot of times where I found myself sitting in my desk at the old place and just not having much to do, which, listen, I could have called out and did this and that and called refi leads and stuff like that. But I was like, listen, I started seeing very slowly that there are guys in here that like this business, that they are super successful. They're young guys. Maybe there is a path to make a lot of money in this business without having to go through all the different, you know, paths of schooling and MBAs and stuff like that. So I would just like touch up on, like Frank said, like guidelines, like legitimately knowing like, well, if this happens in an FHA loan, then why? Or if you know the landlord, then why do I have to put more money down? So I would just want to know all these things because then when I got out there, I didn't have the business to show for, but at least I knew what I was talking about. And that kind of helped me to the point where I was like a credible source of knowledge for these people. Because this is not an easy business to understand. You know, and I'm still surprised nowadays when realtors have been doing this for some of them 25, 30 years, where it's like, I didn't know that. Yeah, they're clueless. And it's just like, so that was important to me to be smart on my subject matter. Because then when I actually come out and go get the deals, then you don't want to fail on those. I mean, you'll fail, but you don't want to not know something so silly, you know?
Well, I want to expand on that, I should say. And this is where Ralph comes in, you know, with the exposure, and then guys like Greg come in with the knowledge. One of the things that I love doing, and I know Greg does it very well, is exactly that. Educate the agents. Don't just say they don't know and then steamroll them, because that's what a lot of guys do. They know because they've never been taught, right? They've never been exposed to anything on our side of the business. And every time we step in a room and we offer up the, you know, the knowledge and the education, we feel and we see that these agents respond really well. So when Ralph hosts a monster event or Greg hosts a small event, give me some success stories that have come from these little events that seem like they're going to be nothing, but now have blossomed into, maybe some of your bigger accounts.
Yeah, so the event things, and then I think I have some examples as well on the education side of things and how receptive realtors are to that. I'll start with that. Like one of the teams that I've been working with a lot now, something so simple as speaking with them at their meeting and letting them know that the dramatic increase in rates in a short amount of time, like go out there and make sure they're still reapproved, not pre-approved, but reapprove them. Because if you were working with tight ratios because rates were 3% and now they're 4%, that person may not qualify anymore. So we have to revisit those. That might be a reason to get them over to someone like me. And then we're coming up on tax season. So like, hey, self-employed borrowers, like this is the time of year where they're going to file, and reach back out to them, because once they're filed, maybe this year they qualify, who knows? But just stupid, like stuff like that people, they don't think of, but we're in it every day. So that's really helpful. And then like existing deals, like I had a deal that was a broker had denied because of something wrong with the HOA docs. And it was because they were getting called for a full review and they didn't have a reserve requirement. So I said, well, we just have to put a little bit more money down, limited review, and we're done. I explained that to the agent. They're like, that's amazing. I didn't know that. And now they sell a lot in that building. So they're like, now I know everything. And I even called the manager of the HOA. I said, you need people with this down payment or they're not going to get a loan here. So like stuff like that, why I think it's important to get back to it, because then regardless, they might reach out to me down the road and say, hey, we do have someone buying in our community. Now, remember, you told me this. I think you'd be great for them. So that's the education thing. Just two examples, which are pretty cool to me.
So let's talk some numbers here. We're 2 and change months into the worst market in years, as some call it. We see large scale layoffs. We see craziness all around. I know your phone is ringing from friends in the business that are not.
It just did. I just had to touch my screen to turn it off.
There you go. What are your numbers looking like? And be honest, as compared to 2021, which was a record-breaking year, are they, status quo? Are you seeing growth? What are you seeing through the first quarter? And then what are you projecting for the rest of the year?
So my last year, obviously the refinances, like I'm no stranger to, if they're there, go get them, like that's the same amount of, it's very easy to close those loans. It's a very beneficial product for a lot of people. So last year, when people are skewed, I would hope it was skewed with refinances, because what I'm seeing this year now, and I just went through it. So we're 2 full months in funding wise into the year. And I've literally only, in the active pipeline, we went over this before, I have 1 refinance. Last year I was closing, it just seemed like everything was a refi and then purchases came around. So I believe I have about, if I pull it up, about 13 active purchase loans going on, a gajillion pre-approvals.
Now, when you say active, those are full contracts.
Those are contracts in, disclosed, appraisals. I'm waiting for appraisals, title, this, that. The pre-approvals are they come in. That's what most of my busy work is that now. Consulting with the buyers, getting their docs in, making sure they're all approved, and then just getting them out there to shop. But with that dramatic change in me, and pretty much refinance is just jumping off the cliff. I'm projecting to be better than next year, on pace already, with just almost 100% purchase loans in a higher rate environment, which just speaks volumes, honestly, to just following the path to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like it just not kind of forcing anything and just letting that happen slowly, because building a purchase pipeline in a business is not something that happens overnight. I think that for 5 years, I did understand that it is a relationship-based type thing. And you just can't force it to hit at one time, so that's what I'm most happy with.
Yeah, I think from what you're saying too, is your business isn't only growing because you're just in the business longer. It's because you have a real value proposition. Like between yourself and your service.
You've invested in it.
Yeah, and you've invested in it. Yeah.
The time and everything that we've built and offered, you take. I know you work with marketing very closely. You've expressed to me a million times how much they've helped you. Our support staff with Braunstein, Basta, De Niro, Meg, Johnny D, everybody down the line, Renee, you take all that support and you run with it. So it's done for a purpose and a reason, and now it's paying dividends. And without even looking at the numbers, I knew you were going to say that you were trending up, because I could just see it. The funny part about that, though, is you mentioned a path, right? We always talk about building a business and not a pipeline, and that's been your approach since day one, and our approach as well here at Cardinal. Part of that path seems to take you to the golf course an awful lot.
Yes, it certainly does. And I was going to bring that up because one of the things that even as far back as like probably this summer 2020, because that was COVID year. And I was still, as we just talked about when my true start was, I wasn't really fully vested in the business just yet. And I certainly didn't have a great purchase pipeline or a referral network, nothing like that. But even the deals that I did have going on, pandemic, a lot of people were golfing. That's when everyone jumped in and did it. But I'd be on the golf course, and even with not that many loans going on, like my friend, but you would think that I was like Jeff Bezos with my friends being like, dude, put your phone down. It was like, people yelling at like, you don't have a deck page for this. And did you not read this condition? I'm like, oh my God, like I got to go through it. Now, if that was happening while I'm on the course now, I'm better off not playing. Like it's just, and then that's what's been so good about like golf in general for me as a way to just grow my business, meeting people at the courses. I've met some of my biggest referral partners by just meeting strangers playing a game that I like, because we're all there for a reason. But as the summers go on, one of the things that I love to do, it's called Twilight. So I'll work my day, I'll have my meeting, do what I have to do, run through the pipeline, be at the desk. But, it gets dark at 9 o'clock. So if I run out of here at 5, we used to be in the office until no earlier than 8 o'clock, where you were not making money if you were not strapped to your desk, because that's how the phone rings and that's how the operating system works. But now, like, I knew that helped me grow my business. So I would skate out of here at 5 o'clock, go play 10, 11, 12, 13 holes. And that would be better to me because, listen, I'm not at my desk, but my loans are still going on. I don't have to worry about them. They're not harassing me because Octane's helping them get them to the finish line. And I'm out there doing something I like that's also helping my business. So
is there any sort of when you log in remote, to Octane, to Zoom, to all of our tools, do you need a specific computer? Is there any sort of a slowdown?
No, so, we'll go back to the golf thing, but even just travel in general, like I used to have anxiety about being like, I'm going away for a week because of the fact, like I said before, in different models and different LOSs, if you're physically just not there, then nothing happens. But my favorite thing to do is get out on like a Thursday night flight and then have Friday, Saturday, come home Sunday night. That, like, I don't skip a beat because I only need web access. So I've e-signed CDs on my phone on a beach.
Yeah.
I've run hotspots on my phone to my laptop. Like you just need internet. And your phone is internet. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I've been traveling a lot more for golf, and these golf trips are like 3 days. So I'm able to be with my friends more. I'm able to not them be like, well, they see the success and stuff that I do by buying a house, renovating a house, like doing all nice things. But they also look at me, they're like, well, he could be a slave to that. We're happy. But now I'm like on board with them being happy and now just crushing them in regards to regular life.
Well, look, let's brag about that a little bit, be humble, but humble brag. Like you started out with, like you said, kid in college, no money, no apartment, no house, basically not even a nice car.
Right.
At this point, without sacrificing your quality of life, you've now graduated to all the finer things up to and including your own house, right? You just recently closed up.
Yeah. So when I first
where
started,
is that? Tell the story about where the house is and all that kind of stuff. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll get there. But, so I grew up with, like I always said, with everything that I ever needed. And, we all have stuff that we want to a degree. Like I'm not an insane person who thinks that they need like a 150-foot yacht, but there were things that I always wanted, and I wanted them young. Like I was going to be an attorney. I thought that I always knew that I would make money somehow, some way. I just didn't know it would be this quick. And I'm blessed to then just trust in the path to get here earlier. But I thought that maybe all these things that I wanted to have would be closer to 30, because that's when money starts to come. But the town I grew up in Massapequa, but I grew up in North Massapequa, which was Farmingdale Schools, which is basically the border up there. And I had friends growing up that were South Shore Massapequa, like right on the water, where I would drive around there and be like, yeah, man, one day when I buy a house, I really, really want to be down there. It's awesome. Like it's beachy. You got the bay. I walk down the block, all that good stuff. And then fast forward to now being 24 and I'll only be 25 at the end of November. So did it pretty early, is where I closed on my first house in that neighborhood in Nassau Shores in Massapequa. And I have the ability to completely gut renovate it, which I think I'm psychotic, but I bought it and now I got ripping ceilings down and all new kitchens and this and that. And I literally, when I started, I say this all the time. I probably had like $400, and I was like, and I took that 400 and leased a car because I wanted a nice car. Nothing like, someone we won't say, but I wanted a car payment. I had a job. I wanted to pay for something. And I went from that so quickly to really being able to do things that I could never even have imagined. And it's not like like you say now, it happened so quickly, but I never even thought I was a slave to my work at all. And mostly because me being an adult with a career has been at Cardinal, honestly. I don't think it really would have been possible anywhere else. I mean, the people is one thing which you can never replicate, but no one can replicate what we have here because we're the only company that uses this particular system. You know what I'm saying? So,
I think that what's important, Ralph has always done it. I've always done it, which is the reason why, Ralph's really the only person I would ever partner with. I include Tommy and Jimmy in that, obviously. It's not only about what we have and what we make, right? Because if we're, levels above everybody else, it's no fun, right? So what you've done and you've started to do, whether it's just helping out new guys, no vested interest, or now growing your own thing, I think that resonates very well is like, look, you earned everything and you appreciate it, but now it's time to, grow wealth for everybody else.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I try to learn something from everyone every day. Like that's just something like I was nerdy in high school with my grades and stuff like that, but that transfers into my life now where if you're surrounded by people that you're not able to learn stuff from, then you're probably not with the right people. The amount of dinners that I've been at with Frank, where he says something a lot, which really resonates with me, where there's one thing to make money for yourself. And then there's a whole nother thing to make money for guys underneath you. And that's like why I respect so much what you guys have done, because there are not too many people on this team that are making not a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and it's regardless of, I don't even look at age, I look at time in, and it's like, there's newer people in the business that are older than me that are still as successful, more successful. It's just, sometimes it's crazy to me to see what some guys are doing and they're not even there for that long, which is why I look at the future. I will be at 29 years old, I'll be a 10-year vet in the mortgage business. And it's like, there's some guys here that do things that I'm like, wow, these guys are insane. Like they have these cars, a million houses, this and that. And it's like, yeah, I got in the business when I was 28. And it's like, oh, okay. So like, it gets me excited about the future as well, because I just know I'm with the right people at the right place.
Yeah, and it makes me happier than ever, anything, to see you guys buying houses. Like when you send me pictures of, even like we got on the phone about your inspection and appraisal, like that's awesome to be able to have those conversations with you. And, I think going into your first purchase, you're like, you think it's a good idea? I was like, yeah, you're 20. This is the best idea ever. You know what I mean? You're starting that. You're starting now. You know what I mean? God knows where you're going to be when you get to Frank's age and then my age. So it's, congratulations, dude. I'm really just proud of how far you've come, and it's going to be exciting to see how far you go over the next few years for sure.
Thank you.
And you're doing it the right way, man. It's not like you're borrowing money off of a paycheck that might come in 6 months to do these things. So stay patient, build it the right way. I think that you have awesome partners. We haven't even touched on some of your bigger partners, but we don't have to, name by name or anything like that. You really run in circles that are so sought after by everybody. People that I started with in the business that are running companies try to get into these accounts, and here's Greg, owning them.
And I'll say another thing that just came to my mind as you said that. So like when we came to this Long Island real estate game, and I'm specifying Long Island, I know that we have our own thing in Jersey and Florida and Charleston and everywhere, but we were a very, very unknown name, Cardinal Financial, in the mortgage lending world, to where now, like, I've sent you guys, I think I actually sent you guys last week the screenshot from that insurance agent I work with.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, I'm getting mortgagee. He's like, your mortgagee clause is like pinned to my bulletin. He's like, because everybody is using you guys. And that's crazy to me, because just when we started, it was like, you get a pre-approval in there. It's like, Cardinal who? And I just had, and it's not just like, we're all structured differently, different branches, and we work for, not everyone works together, but I had an agent, as a friend of mine, that was listing a house for sale. And I wasn't on the buy side or anything like that. They had 50 offers to comb through and called me, and they said, we have one offer with a Cardinal pre-approval letter. Do you know this person? I was able to walk outside, find the guy who's doing the loan. He goes, yeah, man, check out. Like, this is everything that's going on. They're a great buyer. I called the agent and the seller. I said, you should take their deal. I wasn't even involved. I was just like,
Awesome.
listen, He's a good loan officer. It's a good company. You guys know me. That's why you called. Like, take that offer. They didn't even have the best down payment, nothing. They just said, we're comfortable. You said they're good. That's because they saw the name of the company.
And it speaks to the service that you guys all, we try to provide. And that's the key, right? These agents, they don't want to go through a long, arduous process of accepting an offer, then the appraisal comes in short, or accepting an offer, then the borrower is not qualified. It's really about the service and the certainty, and we do provide that, and it goes a long way.
Absolutely.
And one last thing I want to talk about, because I don't even know if Ralph knows about this. With the networking and trying to stay true to the community. I know you went to St. John the Baptist High School.
Yes.
Seems like last year, but not that. Talk a little bit about that relationship, how it started and how it's going.
Yeah, that's crazy. We should have brought that up with golf. So I meet with a lot of the accounts that I have on the real estate side of things. I meet with a lot of the new agents, and I just tell my story, and I hope that some people pick up on it. And we're in the same industry, but we don't do the same things. But I tell things about what I did when coming up to try to build my sphere of influence. And one of those things was I one day took a piece of paper and just wrote down my interests. And I thought, how can I do things around that to meet people? One of them was golf. So I had a little pie chart, and I said, well, what can you do with golf? You could do outings. So I remember approaching Frank and saying, hey, listen, my high school has a golf outing. I think it would get me in front of a lot of good people, get me involved with the community, which is only good for everything. I want to be able to give back to the school at a young age. Like, there's a lot of people that have been around for a while. So we sponsored the outing and took a pretty big league sponsorship, which made some noise. The outing got canceled in 2020. So then I had basically a full year and a half for these people to learn who I was as a person. And a lot of these guys were intertwined with real estate on Long Island. You had developers, title people, and I guess they just heard of me, and we all know the same people. The outing went amazing. I was able to bring a lot of new people into the outing. I was able to figure out that a lot of the payments for the outing were being received. I believe it was about 70% were being received by mail, by a check. So I'm like, well, that speaks to the demographic, that there's not a lot of young people paying online. So maybe, accept Venmo, accept this, accept that. So all stuff like that, to where this year I did the outing first time last year. They asked me to be the co-chairman of the entire committee with some pretty big people on it. And the newsletter actually just went out. Dude. So now I'm the co-chair of that committee, which is amazing, because I get to help, bring more people in, get more people to come to the outing. But this year I'm going to have to harass you all to buy tickets and and sponsorships, because now I need to sell. But
congratulations.
That was awesome.
That's awesome, man. That's really awesome.
Thank
Congratulations.
You.
Yeah, man. And it's not, anybody can go there and Google it up and see it for yourselves. But like, Greg's co-chairing with like a beast, biggest, crazy. It's like, again, putting yourself in circles and rooms that, people may never achieve in life. It's awesome, man. It's awesome to see the trajectory. And it's awesome to know that, again, you're doing it with patience, the right way, and with, humility. Greg also refinanced all of Smithtown. When the rates were really low, and all my neighborhood friends and my daughter's friends were, hitting me up like, hey, what's this whole refi thing about? I'm not a producer, so I give my referrals out to the guys, and one led to another. And before you know it, Greg literally was the loan officer of record on every house in my neighborhood. He did a fantastic job. People still want to invite him over to Thanksgiving.
They have to replace the Smithtown Bowl with just a statue of Frank, because of all that he has done for that town in regards to lending.
That's awesome.
That's good stuff, man. We look forward to, seeing the growth. We look forward to hearing more of the story of, I'm expecting next time we speak, you have your foundation set with your 1 or 2 employees. That's now blossomed to 3 or 4. And I really see, this is going to go as far as you want to take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. Congratulations with all this stuff. It's really great to see what's going on, and keep it up.
Thank you. And I appreciate everything you guys do for me and us.
Good stuff, man. Speak to you soon, bro.
Thanks, Greg.
Talk to you later.